Okay, let's begin. Um, so, in the previous class, we discussed the departmentalization, we discussed the product departmentalization, we discussed the functional departmentalization, and today we shall be discussing the matrix structure. It is a combination of the two. It is a hybrid structure in which we will see how the departmentalization, the product departmentalization, and the functional departmentalization, they overlap each other, they superimpose each other. Okay, so I would like to present the presentation here. Okay, so do you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. All right. So let's see matrix structure. What is this? Matrix structure is also referred as multiple command system, because here you will see how a single employee will receive order, will receive directions from more than one boss. And that is why I have written it is a two boss. A person becomes a two boss employee. There are two boss employees because a single person has two bosses. Okay, and it's a very interesting structure, and in which people and resources are grouped in two ways simultaneously. At the same time, there is a functional departmentalization also, and at the same time, there is product departmentalization, or we can say it as a different project, because sometimes projects are also undertaken, which one-time project. So we can say it's product departmentalization, or on the basis of project. So we see okay, I'm not maximizing it, otherwise it will be difficult for me to take the students in. Is it okay now? You're able to see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So now let us see what is this matrix structure. What is a matrix organization? Okay, I have to take it on a slideshow. All right. All right. Now see, this is a matrix organization where there are the functional departmentalization. Functional departmentalization means finance, marketing, engineering, HR. On the basis of functions, there are departments, and also on the basis of products, there are departmentalization. So product manager of maybe product 1, then product manager of product 2, then product manager of product 3. If a company is producing more than one product, a different variety of products. Okay. And for example, you are here. Okay, you are here. So you see that you are receiving order from two people. That is, and from the finance department as well, you shall receive the order, and from the product manager, you shall also receive the order. Okay, there's of course a CEO. So when I say there you receive order from two people, then we can say that you have two flows of responsibility. I'll check your friends later. They are waiting in the waiting room. Let me check. Okay, Professor is there. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam. हाँ Zareen.
जी सर. Sir, I just started with the matrix structure, sir.
Okay. Please.
Okay, sir. Okay. So we see that there are for example, you are here, so you are receiving order from your finance department as well, and also from the product manager. So we can say that there are two flows of responsibility. We can say that there is a vertical flow of responsibility, and also we can say there is a horizontal flow of responsibility. Okay. And if you are here, you are reporting to your you are reporting to your functional manager, that may be your finance manager. If you are here, then you are reporting to your marketing manager and the product manager. And if you are here, you are reporting to your engineering manager and the product manager. So at the same time, you are reporting to two people. And we can also show that with the help of an arrow, that how you are reporting to two people. Now, this is how a matrix is formed when two departments superimpose each other, when the departmentalization, product departmentalization and functional departmentalization superimpose each other. We can show this with the help of this area, that how you are forming this the product, a single product manager is dealing with these people, and how they are communicating with each other, and also how they superimpose. We can show it with this, that how the functional departmentalization is superimposing the your product departmentalization. Okay. And we can also see what are the advantages of this, and we can see what are the disadvantages of this. So anybody of you can think of any advantages? When for example, this person is able to communicate with this person and able to communicate with this person. Otherwise, what used to happen, that there was a subunit orientation, that a person is only concerned about its own unit. Maybe the finance person is only concerned about the financial part, and he may not be aware of the marketing issues. But since they are able to communicate with each other, the finance department person is also able to take care of the marketing issues and also able to take care of the engineering issues. So there is more communication among themselves. So there is a less subunit orientation. The person is not only oriented towards his own unit, but also taking care of the other aspects. Also, we can see that how a person is concerned about cost and quality at the same time. Because if you are communicating with the product manager and also you are communicating with the finance manager, and this is an important point. Product manager may ask you to increase the quality of the product, and at the same time you may also take care of the cost issues, because the finance people would, of course, would want high quality at low cost. So you can take care of the quality as well as you can take care of the cost at the same time. Any other point which coming to your mind, would you like to add? Any advantages coming to your mind? Okay. We can also discuss the disadvantages. For example, there are 3 hierarchical levels. For example, in this diagram, we can see that this could be the first hierarchical level where, for example, we are placed, you are placed. And the second hierarchical level could be the managers of the functional managers. And the third hierarchical level we can say is of CEO. So there are 3 hierarchical levels, but this seems to be a kind of a flat a hierarchy, a hierarchical structure where these people are communicating and reporting to the functional manager, but maybe there's a lack of hierarchy, that the CEO may not be included so much in the decision making. So there could be lack of hierarchy, there could be lack of standardization, that the products may not be standardized because people are taking taking different decisions. So there may be lack of standardization. And one more thing which we can see as advantage is, for example, if somebody is working here and he's performing well, then that person could be treated as a valuable employee, and later he could be shifted, or later he could be assigned responsibilities or tasks for different product. So this could also be an advantage, that how valuable employees could be shifted or could be assigned different products. This becomes an advantage because people learn, they communicate, and they could be proved as valuable employees. Then, like I was mentioning, the disadvantages, there could be conflicts, of course. There could be conflicts because, for example, the product manager would say that, hey, I would like to increase the quality of my product. Like we mentioned that cost and quality could be an advantage, but it could also be, this aspect could also be a disadvantage, because if product manager would demand high quality, improve the quality of the product, but the finance department may say that we don't have enough finances to improve the product, or maybe to produce product with a new technology we cannot invest. So there could be conflict between the functional manager and the product manager. This could be a disadvantage as well. Any point? Anybody would like to add? Anybody can think of anything regarding this?
Ma'am,
Yes.
isn't this contradictory to the Field's principle of unity of command?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So
this
isn't
is
this
this is a matrix structure, and you see it is every organization cannot follow matrix structure, because organizations who are following traditional structure, right, those people are used to the traditional structure, and this is also a sort of a disadvantage of matrix structure, that people who are in any organization who is following a traditional structure, and suddenly for any project or for any product they decide to have a matrix structure, those people who are following traditional structure are not able to adjust. They face a lot of problems, because there's a communication problems, there's interpersonal relationship problems. So this is a structure which all organizations do not follow every time. Okay, but this is followed when it is required, when because they can employ less, they can have less employees, because this would be the whole finance department dealing with the various products. So it is employed when it is required. Okay, and that is why it is said that it is not easy to be implemented, to be used, because they face many problems, and many organizations train their employees before assigning them any task which requires matrix organization. And even they ask their employees to volunteer for the going in this kind of a setup, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope I'm able to address your query. So to overcome, like I mentioned, these obstacles, they could be special efforts like training people And then, of course, the people who are facing problems related to interpersonal relationships those can be addressed. And people are not also used to this pressure of handling two bosses at the same time. So for that also they require maybe prior training. Sir, is there anything you would like to add, sir?
I think we are carrying out good discussion. Maybe in the end I will contribute something.
Okay, sir. All right, sir.
But they can think in terms of the example which I have shared with them on the previous turn.
Yes, on the
That
basis of department.
The department having 4 courses. So what should be the basis of departmentalization? Can this structure be used, employed there?
Right, sir. So like I mentioned about the advantages of matrix structure, I have written here the same point, so I may not repeat these. These are the disadvantages of a matrix structure, like I already mentioned these. So we can discuss regarding structure follows strategy, and so can we start this, sir?
Please start.
Okay. So, like we already discussed various structures, how a structure works. It is said that structure follows strategy. See what happens. Okay. See what happens when any organization is working under pressure, when any organization is working under the environmental changes, they always revise their strategy. Strategies are revised and new strategies are formed. But it is not possible to carry out the same strategies with maybe the structure of the organization they are following since long. Or maybe if it is, for example, any inefficient structure, or maybe if a strategy requires more communication among employees, then they may require a kind of a flat structure. And if a strategy requires more hierarchical levels, then they need to design their structure accordingly. So when a strategy is revised according to the environmental changes or the various changes, then there is need to also update the structure, to also change the structure of the organization accordingly, so that the required goals or the objectives are achieved. So this is why we say that structure follows strategy, because structure is usually could be revised on the basis of the changes in strategy. And like we know that there are two kinds of structure. There is a tall structure, there's a flat structure. Tall structure could be like this, where there's a small span of control. What do we mean by small span of control? It means that a single person have limited activities to deal with. He is assigned limited activities, limited responsibilities to tackle, to handle. So we can say that when there's a tall structure, there's a small span of control, and it facilitates close supervision, because everybody is very closely connected, and there could be a close supervision of the activities which maybe the subordinate is handling. And that means that there is a close interaction between the supervisor and the subordinate when there is a tall structure. So this could be an example of the tall structure where we have more levels of hierarchy, and people are more closely connected, and they have more, the supervisor and subordinates are more closely connected to each other. Then the flat structure. But I would like to play a video for you where we can see that how flat structure, what basically flat structure refers to, where there is very less levels of hierarchy, and people are meeting on very not daily, or they are not reporting to each other about each and every action. They have their own, they have the right to take decision. So let me play this video for you, where Steve Jobs share how he is able to.
Your personal role in these things. People have different stories about it. That you, ranging all the way from you design it personally to you kind of, to reuse this word, you kind of curate the suggestions of the people who work under you. I mean, give us a sense of that without breaking any of your rules about, product secrecy. What do you do?
One of the keys to Apple is Apple's an incredibly collaborative company. And so, you know how many committees we have at Apple?
No.
0. We have no committees.
No committees.
We are organized like a startup. One person's in charge of iPhone OS software. One person's in charge of Mac hardware. One person's in charge of iPhone hardware engineering. Another person's in charge of worldwide marketing. Another person's in charge of operations. We're organized like a startup. We're the biggest startup on the planet. And we all meet for 3 hours once a week, and we talk about everything we're doing, the whole business. And there's tremendous teamwork at the top of the company, which filters down to tremendous teamwork throughout the company. And teamwork is dependent on trusting the other folks to come through with their part without watching them all the time, but trusting that they're going to come through with their parts. And that's what we do really well. And we're great at figuring out how to divide things up into these great teams that we have and all work on the same thing, touch bases frequently, and bring it all together into a product. We do that really well. And so what I do all day is meet with teams of people and work on ideas and solve problems to make new products, to make new marketing programs, whatever it is.
And are people willing to tell you you're wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, other than snarky journalists. I mean, people that work.
Oh, yeah. No, we have wonderful arguments.
And do you win them all? Or?
Oh, no, I wish I did. No, see, you can't. If you want to hire great people and have them stay working for you, you have to let them make a lot of decisions, and you have to be run by ideas, not hierarchy. The best ideas have to win. So otherwise, good people don't stay.
But you must be more than a facilitator who runs meetings. You obviously contribute your own ideas.
I contribute ideas, sure. Well, why would I be there if I didn't?
What is your personal role in these things? People have different stories about it. That you, ranging all the way from you design it personally to.
So I hope you were able to acknowledge, you were able to appreciate the structure which is being followed at Apple. He says that Steve Jobs said that he didn't follow the hierarchy, and he wasn't watching the people all the time, which is basically in the case of hierarchy where supervisor is seeing the subordinate all the time, is on maybe checking him on all the time if he has completed his task or not. But in this case, that was not happened. So you can maybe appreciate the difference between flat and tall structure. And this is why flat structure could be quicker, could be quick, because people do not all the time have to take the permission from the supervisor for each and every little thing which he would like to work upon, or maybe the idea which is coming to his mind. He may not have to take permission every time from his supervisor. And this is why the flat structure could be quick and more creative, because people have the right, have the freedom to think and to propose the ideas. And like it is mentioned that there may be difficulty in developing team spirit. That could be an issue, that how to develop team spirit among the people. But if they would be given freedom to think, to decide, to present their ideas, and then definitely they would be feel more motivated. Okay. Now, we have discussed the structure, but the structure is something which is incomplete without power and authority. We can say that structure is a skeleton. For example, if you imagine a skeleton, then we can refer structure as a structure. So then power and authority is like its blood and flesh. Without power and authority, a structure would not work. So we may also discuss the role of power and authority. Any idea about power? Anything you can say about power? What do you think could be the difference between power and authority? Do you think everybody who has the power has the authority as well? For example, imagine a person who is powerful, who has the power. So do you think he also every time has the authority?
Ma'am, can we say that authority is legal, but power might not be?
Yes, right. Very good. Yes. So authority could be when it is when it is practiced legally or legalized, or it is it is something which is given, right? And you can practice it on legal basis. Your authority, for example, somebody is a vice chancellor, so he has the authority and he has the power. On the basis of that authority, he can exercise his powers. But at the same time, people have power to do certain things. They may be having their influence, but they may not be having the right to do that. You can say that way. So we can say that power is the ability to exert influence on the people, but authority is has implicit in it the notion of legitimacy and the ethical sanctification. Thus, like you very correctly said, the legalized or the legitimate power is authority. When any power is practiced in a legal way, in a legitimate way, then it becomes authority. So person who has authority would be having power as well, but everybody who has power may not have the authority. Now we can say what are the 5 sources of power. what are the 5 bases of power there are. So how people receive, or people practice, on what basis they receive practice power.
Zareen,
Yes, sir.
can we take it up on the next turn? I wish to comment on some of the issues which we have already
Right, sir.
covered.
Right, sir. We have time. Right, sir.
So first we talked about the matrix structure, and Dr. Zareen shared with you the overlapping system of responsibilities that we have, which is a unique form which is required in some unique situations only. And I've already shared with you this dilemma that we in the department may be faced with at some stage when we try to create our own departments, separate departments. Should we do it on functional basis, or should we do it on the basis of the products that we are offering? For example, there could be a department of international business, or there could be department of hospital administration, something like that. Now, I experienced this form when I was in IIM Ahmedabad in 92-93. They follow the matrix form that Dr. Zareen was talking about. So there you have a groups, areas as they call it. So you have a strategy area, you have an accounting area, you have a marketing area and all that. And you have area chairpersons. So there will be a person from amongst the faculty members only who would be the chairperson of marketing area or OB area, and like that. But at the same time, there will be chairpersons of various programs also. So naturally, for example, for them the most prestigious programs are 2. One, their regular PGP program, which is equivalent to our MBA. Now they have become a university, so they will also be awarding MBAs. So MBA is their star program, so there is a chairperson who is responsible for it. Now from where he would draw the faculty? Naturally, he would draw the faculty from marketing area, from finance area, because you will require faculty to teach in these courses. Now PGP is only one of their programs. In addition to that, they have many other programs also. Like for example, they have a research program. They call it fellow program in management. Now fellow program, there is a chairperson of fellow program also. You have a chairperson of their MDP program. MDP is management development programs. So what happens is that there are area chairpersons and there are chairpersons who are responsible for unique products. And these programs are relatively permanent type of programs, like MBA they are offering since their beginning. There are some programs which they offer and then on the need basis or as per the demand. For example, sometimes they create they get huge consultancy assignments also. But naturally, it is a time-bound, short duration assignment. So, for example, suppose the project duration is 2 years, and during that period, they have to complete the consultancy work. So they will create a team, they will make it in charge of the consultancy project, and they will draw teams from, depending on the need of that project, they will draw teams from various faculty members representing different areas. So are you able to see the interlocking of various responsibilities that takes place? And the structure is a very fluid structure. So for example, if I am the faculty member, I may be part of the strategy area and I may be reporting to the chairperson of the strategy on that account. But at the same time, I may be in charge of the fellow program in management, that is research program. So on one hand, I am reporting to a area chairperson as far as my functional expertise is concerned. But the same chairperson might be teaching in my fellow program, which I am offering as a chairperson of the fellow program in management. So there is a lot of, fluidity in the entire system. And this kind of form is required not only in such academic institutions, but in many other situations also. For example, this is how most of the real estate companies are organized. They have a relatively permanent teams. For example, they will have a team of civil engineers. They will have a team of architects. They will have a team from legal side and land acquisition side. And they will have a team of finance. And they may be operating 2 or 3 or 4 or maybe more projects at the same time. So they will have a product manager. They will have a project manager who is looking after a particular product. Suppose there is a huge township project coming up in Gurgaon on Gurgaon-Manesar Road. So the person may be responsible for that particular project, and he will draw his team from various expertise groups that exist in the company. So the organizational form is very fluid, and that is the advantage of the form. You can draw expertise from various areas. Imagine a situation where, for example, in case of, let us say, management institution, if you had dedicated faculty only for PGP program or only for this fellow program, would it have provided a good use of the scarce faculty resources? Naturally not. So that is something which we have to appreciate about matrix form, that whenever we have a situation like this, which I have described to you, even multinationals, they are faced with this situation. Suppose you have a multinational like any, let us say, Hindustan Lever, this levers, Unilever. Now the parent company may have the headquarters, and the headquarter may have teams, again based on functional expertise. You may have an R&D team, you may have a marketing team, you may have a finance team, and like that. Now Unilevers may be operating in n number of countries, including, for example, India. So India will have a country manager. Now country manager can benefit from the expertise that exists in the headquarters. Likewise, a country manager based in China may draw upon the expertise from the parent headquarters. So this is a kind of overlapping form, and here we are able to deploy the scarce resources, especially human resources, across the board depending on need. Had it been a permanent kind of division, it would have been not a good use of the scarce resources, and that is the advantage. But the disadvantage, as Dr. Zareen was discussing, that there is so much of overlapping responsibilities. Often it becomes clear who reports to whom, because I described you a situation that in one role I may be reporting to my area chairperson, but in another role the area chairperson might be teaching in a course which I am offering, for which I am responsible. So this kind of form works when you need, first you have a need like this naturally. When the organization's size has grown to such a level that you need to have some kind of divisions. For example, our department with just 20 odd faculty members, we may be able to manage the whole thing without creating sufficient structure. But IIM Ahmedabad with its 100 plus staff will have to have some, formal structural arrangement. So they have created this unique structural form, which is called the matrix form. So this is one thing which Dr. Zareen was talking about. If any one of you wants to have any query or you have a question, please discuss. Am I able to share with you some of the intricacies that may arise while running a matrix form of organization? Okay, Zareen, now if you want, you can conclude.
Okay, sir. So like in next class, we can discuss about the 5 sources of power, which are also very interesting to know about. And we discussed the tall structure, the flat structure, and I'm sure you can appreciate that also from the video that we saw and the chart which was presented to you. And sir also presented a very good example in the light of universities, education institutions, which we all can appreciate. It is a very easy to understand examples which we are about the system which we are into. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.